Okay, welcome to Decluttering Your Apps. Welcome to the live stream today. Thanks so much for taking the time to join me. If you're here live, let me know where you are in the chat. I am monitoring the chat. I'm doing all this myself. It's a hazy Saturday here in Victoria, BC. It is, I think, 25 degrees Celsius already at 9 a.m. Pacific time. We're in the middle of a heat wave, and this is a heat wave that we normally don't experience. A heat wave for us is like, mid 20s at the most, or and it's 25 degrees already. I think yesterday it got up to close to 30 degrees. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're not here to talk about the heat. We're here to talk about taking the heat off of the choices that you have within your apps. See what I did there? When it comes to the apps that you have on your devices. I have my iPad over here. I have my iPhone over here. And I am going to be decluttering those apps with you live in real time today. It's something I've been meaning to do for a while. I tend to do it probably every my ideal would be every quarter, but at minimum once per year. I have not done it this year at all. And there are a lot of reasons why. Primarily because it's not often a priority. I mean, these things tend to pile up, and it's because it's invisible and it doesn't really seem to get in the way that uh, I'm not really overly concerned about it. Maybe you're not concerned about it either, but there's just something about having a well-appointed desk or a well-appointed study or what have you, and your devices are no different. So whether you are an iOS user, and that's what we're going to be using today, or whether you are an Android user or what have you, I hope you have your devices handy. Like I said, I have both here. We're going to go through both of them as I walk through my process today. So I'll be deleting in real time. And I also brought some coffee, so you'll probably hear me sip on this every once in a while. I was going to take a look and see who's all here right now. We have, and again, it is a Saturday. I know that, so it's going to be rather. The weekend tends to be either hit or miss when it comes to people live, but if you're not watching this live, you can leave in the comments as to what devices you're using, what your decluttering practice is, and so on. Some of the other things you're going to get to see today are some of the behind the scenes as to why I have certain apps, how I set up my apps on my devices, and also you're going to get to see a quick look at some of the apps you may never heard of before. In a recent video, someone it was actually the trailer for my Evernote video, why I'm leaving Evernote. Which is coming out on June 29th. So if you're watching this in real time, the next video I'll be releasing after this one will be my reasons for leaving Evernote. They noticed an app, and you'll see it today, that was there, and they're like, oh, what is that app? And I alluded to it, but I didn't really go into detail. You're going to get a little bit of that today as well. So you might find some apps and discover some apps you never thought of before, never heard of before. And then the other thing you're going to get to know is, why I use certain apps that are third party over maybe the stock apps, right? And I'm not talking about the stocks app on the iPhone and iPad. I'm talking about like apps that they generally come with and why I've moved away. I was actually recently on a episode of Mac Power Users, and that was one of the things that came up was, Mike, you don't seem to be using a lot of the pure Apple software any longer. And there's a bunch of reasons for that, which I'll also get to a little bit during today's live stream. Now, when you're making this decluttering happen, it's important to go in with some kind of, number one, strategy. And also, the other thing you want to do is you want to make sure that you have do not disturb on while you are doing it. Okay. So I've turned do not disturb on both my devices here. And if we switch to the iPhone, you'll see like if I swipe down, it says do not disturb. If I touch it, it's off until 11. If I turn it back on, no one can talk to me for, at least a few hours until tomorrow. But you got to make sure you turn it back on. Okay. And then over here, this is my iPad, same thing. I'm going to turn on do not disturb. And now no one can reach me until 8:45 a.m. tomorrow. So turn those on. And the reason you want to do that is you don't want any apps to interrupt you during the process. I mean, any. I know some of the notifications that you have set up are going to be for apps that you're going to keep. But, and there we go, and don't forget to turn off the volume. But you have some apps that are also probably going to ping you notifications because when you installed them, you didn't modify, you didn't customize notifications. You just said, "Yep, sure, go ahead, give me notifications." Yep, yep, yep. The red dots, all that stuff, right? So make sure you put do not disturb on, or whatever the equivalent of that is for Android, so that way you don't get any interruptions while you're doing it. Secondly, maybe map out where you want apps that you're keeping to go. So, for example, you'll see this as I walk through mine. Every one of my apps, and I'll show you on the iPad specifically, every one of my apps, there kind of is a themed area to some of it. It's actually more apparent on the iPhone. So I'll switch over to there. So on the iPhone, I have my home screen, and then I have a lot of communication stuff and finance stuff here. That's actually social media, which is also some communication. So I may end up moving that to here, or maybe moving the communication back. Then there's all these video ones, and I'm doing a lot more video these days, so it's entirely possible that I'm going to be, moving those to maybe a page that's further up. These are all my reading and music apps and learning. A lot of learning going on here. You can even see the folders that I have here, reading and education. So that's what those are. And then I've got the games on the very last screen. I'm not afraid to have lots of screens on here too. And this is also a time where you can go in and change your wallpaper and things like that. So have a strategy of how you want to lay things out based on maybe you're like me, maybe every day has a theme. So you might want to have 5 to 7 pages that are themed with the different types of apps you would use for different types of activities. Maybe you want to have all of your apps, and most of mine are actually sorted more by mode, like the mode I need to be in than the theme. So for example, all your video apps could go on one page, or they could go into a folder as one category if you want to have less pages. I still like the idea of seeing apps right up front in front of me. So like looking at the social media page here on my iPhone, like all of the primary social media apps that I've been using are all front and center here. They're not buried in the social folder where you're going to see apps that I'm not really using all that much. Okay. Same thing with video. Like all of these video ones are front and center, but then you'll notice I have photo, audio, utilities, then there's some business stuff, health. They may need to expand because maybe I'm needing to use them more. I may move everything from that second row down to another page because audio and video are becoming more important, right? And if you look at the video stuff, I've got some video editing software on here that I may want to actually expand on my phone. Maybe not. And same thing with this page here. Scribed is one of my reading apps. Same thing with Audible, Overcast, Spotify, reading. There's Instapaper, Goodreads, all that stuff is on here. So have a sense of how you want to do it. Joyce is saying, and I agree, Joyce, mode is more often what you'll do, simply because unless one of your themes is actually a mode, like if you have video day or something like that, then that would actually be more of a themed screen than anything else. Okay. Another thing you're going to want to do, and this is really important, if you take a look at the bottom of my dock here, you will see that I have this is my iPad. There's not a single stock app that is in the dock and that you'll see there. I've moved everything out. It's probably more apparent on the phone. So for example, I have Drafts, I have ClickUp, I have Hindsight, which is my habit tracking app, and I have Reflection, which is my journaling app. And no matter what page I flip to, that's going to be there, right? Same thing on the iPad. You're seeing the primary, and if you look, you're going to notice that the way the iPad is doing it now, because it's got more screen real estate, is you've got five apps that are constantly in the dock. For me, it's Obsidian. They have a mobile app in beta. Drafts. I have Google Docs in there, and that's primarily because I write when I'm writing. I'm using my FreeWrite, which is a word processor. I'm going to make a video about that as well. And it syncs to Google Docs. Used to sync to Evernote, not anymore. Although that is an interesting prospect, because Evernote, while I'm not using it for anything else, that might be an interesting prospect. The difference is, of course, Google Docs I can actually share with different people. And then, of course, we get to ClickUp and Todoist, which are my two task apps. But again, you'll notice the phone isn't there, messages isn't there, mail. I don't even use mail.app on my iPhone. Safari, the web browser, it's not down there. I really think that you need to make the dock ideal for you. And I think that if you haven't already done this when you first got your device, now would be a good time to do it. So as you are decluttering, take a look at the apps that you feel you want to have front and center. Now, there is one way to do this fairly easily, and that is, if you want to see, and I believe it's under screen time. Yep. So if you're on the iPhone and you go to screen time, right? And I'm going to go to, so you could see like the apps that you're using. So I'm going to go to see all activity. So the most used app on my phone is Sleep Cycle, right? Like most used. And then Facebook, Messages, YouTube, Safari, Filmic Pro, Basecamp. Like these are all the apps that I'm using more than anything else. And actually, this is across, I think, all of ours, because I do not have Paleo Running Mama as an app that I've been using. The daily average for pickups, again, not uncommon. Messages, Front, Overcast, Facebook. And then my daily average notifications are coming from these apps here. So you could use the the um, the screen time app to figure out what apps are the ones you use more. This is where it could be really helpful. If you don't want to do this by, let's say, the app, you could do it by category. So health and fitness for me is obviously number one. Most of that is sleep cycle, so I'm probably going to toss that by the wayside. I won't put that in the bottom, but maybe I will, right? Productivity and finance is clearly number two, and then social is number three. Now, again, there are shortcuts. Like, for example, if I swipe down and I type in sleep cycle, actually, you have to do it from the middle of the screen. Oops. Let's try that again. No, that's notification center. Um, there's often, yeah, see, so like apps that show up, you could have shortcuts that do this for you as well. So it really depends on how advanced you are with your phone. I'm trying to keep this simple for you. So if you have, and I know at certain points of day, I will be able to swipe down and it will say activate sleep cycle to with a 7:30 a.m. alarm. And so I can just swipe down and press it and it's done. So shortcuts and all of these different widgets that are available, which by the way, you'll notice I'm not even using widgets on these devices yet. That's part of the reason I'm doing this decluttering, is to get it ready for that sort of thing if I decide I want to do it. So these are all things you want to keep in mind as you're decluttering, because it's all well and good to say I want to get rid of all these things, but if you don't have a place that you want to put them, the ones you're keeping, then you're going to put yourself in a position where uh, you know you won't have rhyme or reason as to where these things live. So again, maybe use categories as pages, maybe use subsets as folders. You may have noticed really quickly that in social, I also have an Instagram folder here on my iPhone. So these are all apps that are related to Instagram, which, by the way, you'll notice I haven't used hardly any of them recently. So you can have a like that's what you could use folders for, is maybe you're going to put Facebook as a separate app, but then you're going to put like your Facebook business and anything you might use to post to Facebook inside of a folder. Same thing with video, right? Like maybe, and this is another interesting thing to consider, maybe Instagram and TikTok don't fit into the social category, but you want them to fit into the video category. You could put them on the same page as video as well, right? So social could be the ones you use simply for social, but then if you're using your devices for business, you might say, hey, you know what, LinkedIn, it's more of a business app. I want to give it more attention, so I'm going to not put it inside of the social folder. I'm going to put it front and center on my business page. And then that way, everything related to my business is on one page. So there's lots of different ways that you can do this. And let's get started. I mean, we're about 15 minutes in. I just want to give you some rhyme or reason as to what you might want to do. Again, if you have any questions and you're in the live, just ask them during the live chat. If you are watching this after the fact, just ask in the comments. I'll happily chime in the comments. Not sure if the chat translates over from the live to the the final published video for replay purposes. So if your question doesn't get answered on the live stream, then just ask me in the comments and I'll happily jump in. So where I'm going to start is I'm actually going to start with the iPhone, because the iPhone, there's a couple of reasons. Number one, it's the device that I think needs a bit of pruning, because there's some apps on there that are just not, they're not serving me any longer. And I tend to use that device like it's going with me when I'm going for my walks and all that stuff. So I want to make sure that I have the necessities on there, and I want to make sure it's in a better place. The other reason is the battery on the iPhone right now. I think I'm at, what am I at right now? 74%, which is fine. That should last. But I want to make sure that this lasts throughout the whole stream here today. We're probably going to go about an hour altogether. I'm going to try to get through each of these within the next 45 minutes. And whatever we don't get through, I think then you can probably go ahead and finish up on your own. I will probably, at the very least, get a bunch done on each. I want to show you each of them, because each device has its own purpose, right? My iPad is kind of like my laptop, so the apps on there are going to be representative of that, whereas the iPhone is more of a communication device, so the apps that I'm leaving on there will be more representative of that. All right, so let's get going. So, and all right, we're gonna have to reset here. Just give me 1 second here. We may have to start with another device, because the the iPhone decided it was not going to mirror anymore. So we may have to actually do this on the iPad and the iPad alone. I'm using an adapter it's a third-party adapter called Drong. So that may be the problem. I've used it on a few occasions before, but we're going to start with the iPad then. So scratch that. We're going to start with the iPad. We may not get to the iPhone depending on what happens with the adapter here. And I do not want to reset anything on my phone. Yeah, I don't want to reset anything else. So let us give this a try. So the way I look at it here is, this is my home screen on my iPad is actually not too bad. It is and I'll switch to, yeah, we've got it here. Sorry about that. This kind of threw me for a loop because it just decided not to work. So everything on here is representative of what I want to see on my device. On the front page. Okay, I've already talked a little bit about the dock, right? So, just bear with me 1 second here while I pour some coffee. Get a little thumbs up there. Okay. So, as we take a look at this, you can see at the top I have Timeless, which is a calendaring app. But the problem with Timeless is that it is an iPhone app only. You can tell and it actually crashed there, but you can tell because of the way that it was representing itself on the screen there. So that app is going to have to go. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean, and all you do to delete is you hold down hard and that's it. So that doesn't necessarily mean that it's not a good app. In fact, I like it on my iPhone. I'm really liking what Timeless has to offer, but it's not great for the iPhone device, and everything kind of moved up as a result. Front is my email app of choice. I really enjoy using it, and I'm going to keep using it. So it's going to stay there because it's an app that I actually use quite often. And it is, again, my iPad is kind of like my laptop. So that's another reason why I want to keep that in mind. Slack, another communication tool. Hindsight is here. I don't use Hindsight a lot on the iPad. As a matter of fact, also does the same thing. So it actually does the same thing. So I'm going to actually delete it from here because the orientation doesn't really work. And you can see this is something you want to keep in mind. And again, we're talking iOS only here. It will delete anything on the device. So what I want to do here, and you're not going to get a chance to necessarily see it because of the way that this device is acting up. So I'll just go through. I want to make sure that everything on hindsight on my phone is synced properly. And it is. So I don't need to worry about that. So I'm going to delete it and it's going to go away. Now, again, if I want to make doubly sure, I'm going to go back here. I'm going to swipe. Yeah, everything's on here. So I'm fine. All right. By the way, I will add probably a task to click up really quickly here. I'll do that on my phone a little bit later, but I'm gonna add it. I'm gonna add a task to get a new adapter for my iPhone so I can share this because I don't want this to happen again. Okay. All right. So reflection can stay there. Now, in essence, I think I'm going to actually pull reflection down to the. So you have to hit Edit Home Screen. What I do, and I'm going to actually move it down to the dock, okay? Because I do write a lot in my journal. I'm going to hit done. And notice the dock has enough things there now that I'm not too worried about it. Now we're starting to see some of my planning stuff at the top, but we're going to skip all those for now, and we're going to go to Reader and Flipboard and Instapaper and Apple News and all that fun stuff. So these actually what I will do is I'm just going to move these up. Because I use these to read what's going on with news. And I do not have a Kindle, so my iPhone tends to be exactly what I use for this stuff. Now there are other reading tools here, as you can see, Scribed, Academia, Researcher, all that stuff, but they're going to stay where they are. Now, let me be abundantly clear here. There are some things on here that I don't really need to have. They're fine. The great thing about the iPhone and the iPad is that I can have the same app on both devices and iCloud syncs them, which I love. But do I really need to have food noms and all those things on here? Not really. My phone handles most of that stuff. Plus my phone is newer. So I think I'm gonna leave them for now, but I know that I may come back here and delete those apps that don't really get the play on the iPad that they would on the iPhone. All right. So let's take a look at let's move on to the next page. I don't want to go to those folders yet. Now, there are, again, a lot of different things in here. There is Focus at Will. There is Editor, which is what I used to use for editing. I'm going to keep it for now. Spotify, I'm not really using Spotify on my iPad. It's actually pretty interesting the way that they do this. So I'm going to delete Spotify from here. Okay. My Mevo, see this is interesting. So I'm going to edit the home screen. And this is a way to do things a little bit faster. So I do not have a Mevo anymore. I deleted it. So I'm going to delete the Mevo mic and I'm going to delete the Mevo. I'm also going to keep looking here to see other things that I don't really use. I do not use Time Tree. Well, actually, I'll keep Time Tree for now. Oh, there's Evernote. Bye. And then there's some other apps here that I don't really spend a lot of time with. AliExpress I do not use on this device. Control Center, I'm seeing a lot of video stuff here. Day One I no longer use here. Now it's not deleting because Day One's not my app of choice anymore. There are a lot of interesting video apps here. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to group these for now. So I'm going to take this and put it here, this and put it here, and this is pretty much the way. So when I'm looking at video, right, I will take Intro Maker and put it in here, and I'm going to rename it. And I'm just going to call it Video Tools. Okay? And then I have it there. The Panasonic, I definitely want front and center here, though. So let's not get rid of this. Now, these are all related to podcasts. So audiograms, Frame.io should go into video tools. amp.me. It looks like it's oh, where is it? It looks like it's audio, wherever the heck that folder went. Oh, they went into social networking. See, that's the other thing. That's the other thing too, is you want to make sure these all look well. I do not know what paired is. I'm going to delete it. LinkedIn Learning is here. Dynalist. There's a few others. I'm going to put the Vimeo stuff inside of here for now because they are also those kind of tools. I want you to keep in mind that sometimes you're just going to put things in folders and then assess them there. It's just to kind of get things out of the way. So it's about putting things in piles, basically. And that's what we're doing right now. Control Center can also go into video tools. Circle is more of a community-based thing. I'm going to rename this, though, because this is more audio tools. I don't know why it was saying that. It's maybe because of audiogram. Okay. And we are now going to move on to there's Tailwind, which is a social media app. There are Magic Eraser is more of a photo tool. Dynalist is definitely a productivity tool, which I will look at in a minute. Now it's time to look at this page. Desmos, I have no idea what that is. I'm going to delete it. The pattern I've heard of, but I don't know what it is. My daughter's Oak Bay app, I can't remember the last time I looked at it. The healthcare app, there's a Waking Up app from Sam Harris that I've never used, so I'm not going to. YOLO, no. Some of these are apps that my daughter has or my son has, like the Lego Mario thing. I don't need that. I'm not really checking my finances on here all that much, but I might end up doing that. So there's healthcare. We have there's Eventbrite Organizer, which I mean I could use. Coinbase, Tangerine. These are all finance apps. So you can see a lot of these things are kind of. So I'm going to move them all into these folders for now. So I have these folders that are created. There's Wise. That's a financial folder. There's the Wim Hof. There's Stop Motion. I'm going to move the Stop Motion app and put it into video tools. Dispo, I believe, is also Instagram. I'm going to delete it because I'm not using it. I'm not going to use InstaShot. Magisto, no. I'm going to delete a lot of these. Quizlet, Photolab, I've never used them. Facetune, don't really want that. CoStar, gone. Knowable is something I've been thinking about getting into. Their audio training program. And then we've got more apps here. So you can see like the iPad really needs help. I'm not using this journal app, so I'm going to get rid of it because I've never really used it. I have Twitter on here. I have Curiosity Stream, Tubi. So these are all my video ones that I like to watch for movies. So I'm going to move this up here. I'm not using Beachbody On Demand anymore. Twitter Threads, ExpressVPN is on here. I'll probably move that up here for video purposes. These are all reading apps, of course. Basecamp, Gemini, Habits. Like there's a few of these that really just need to kind of be grouped. I'm not using Ulysses any longer, so I can get rid of that. And I'm not using, well, StockTwits was something I was looking at, so I'm going to move that into finance. Okay. And then we get to here, Microsoft Teams. I'm going to move that over here. Oh, I'm going to move that over here because sometimes I have to use it for speaking engagements. So you can see that I've already kind of fixed a few things up here, but there's a lot to go through. All right. We're going to go back and look at this daily themed one, the daily themes that are here. Because number one, I can tell you the last time I used this thing, the daily themes were not really involved. Planning a planning day. I'm not going to really do this with this one. You can see I've got BusyCal here. I've got Pinterest, LinkedIn. I'm going to start to pull some of these out. Pinterest is a social media app. I'm going to start to group apps that way. It says business, though, which is kind of interesting. Bear, never really used. Apple Notes, I'm not really using it. See, there's an example. So I'm not using Apple Notes because I've found that using Obsidian is far better. Same thing with, even before I started using Obsidian, Apple Notes was not being used. I was using Evernote, I was using Drafts, but I wasn't really using those tools. So if it's a stock app that you're not using, don't be afraid to delete it, especially because as you open those things, Apple will say, hey, or Android or whatever will say, hey, use this thing. It's going to give you compelling reasons to use it, but you don't want to split your concentration across multiple apps unless it's your job to look at different apps. But there you go. All right. So planning, like there's a lot of stuff in here that like penultimate, I'm not using. Paper is interesting, but I don't really use that for planning. So we're going to edit the home screen. We're going to move pretty much everything out of here. Now, BusyCal is compelling because I did need a calendar app. So I'm going to put that back there. I have iThoughts. So what you're doing here is you're basically pulling everything out. I do not use a bullet journal, so that's gone. Bye-bye folder. Okay, now it's about taking a look at the next one. So I'm just going to keep moving through this fairly quickly. Editorial, never really used. Text expander, for sure I want that on here. It can stay in optimization. Time Doctor, never really used. Copied, never really used. I'm not really using status board either. Thing, don't know. Freedom, I'll keep on here. Reminders, see, this is the problem. Reminders is one of those tools that if it's on here, Siri will know to put things in. Sometimes you have to consider whether or not the syncing will happen. So if I tell Siri to remind me this, it might also, depending on what other automations I've set up, put it on Todoist or ClickUp or whatever. I'm going to leave reminders on here for now simply because of that reason. But I'm going to keep it inside of a folder so I don't see it. That's another trick, is any apps that you know you might need to keep because of the way they influence other apps, worth keeping on there. Maybe you call the folder the attic or something like that, but that's why that's going to stay on there. All right. Apple's clips I'm not really using. I obviously need to keep files. The decision wheel I'm not using. I'm keeping shortcuts. I'm not using do. All right, files is definitely not an optimization tool. Reminders, sure, that's fine. Shortcuts, definitely. But I'm going to see what other things are optimizing oriented that are in here. So far, nothing. Nothing else looks optimizy. All right, let's take a look at the looking folder. Now, this is different than on my phone. So I'm going to change this to video, just video. And I'm going to look at all these and say, hey, which ones do I want to use? So Instagram layout, not really using. Cut story, I'm not really editing Instagram stuff on here, so I'm not going to worry about it. Obscura, gone. Teleprompter, I'll keep. Fonto, I know that's for YouTube thumbnails, but I'm mainly doing that on Canva now, and I'm not even really doing it. Never really used Adobe Rush. Flickr, nope, because this is actually video and photos. Vidue, that app no longer really works. And actually, we need to change this to photo/video. And actually, what we should, we're going to just do that. Spark Video, can't remember the last time I used it. Teleprompter can stay there. Now, what I can do, and this actually makes a lot of sense, is I'm going to take this and put it there. Okay, and is there any other video folders that I want to take a look at? Well, I will move the video tools over here, put it next to it, and I'll take a look. Control Center, Vimeo, Create, Frame.io, all these. I'm not really using stop motion, so I'm going to get rid of it. Most of these apps are not being used because I have others that help me with this now. So I can actually take this, and I'm going to go photo. I'm going to take these and move them. Because, and then everything else in here is all photo related. And then I'm going to find other photo stuff that I might want to use. So I'll take a look and see if I can find those. Magic Eraser, I think, is a photo tool that I will use. I'll drop that in there. And I don't see any others. I know I have Pixelmator in here somewhere. Sketch, nope. Deleting that. There's a few in here that I no longer use. Maintaining, this is a mode that I'm in. Oh, Canva. There we go. Photo. And if we take a look at, I bet you if we take a look at Oh, well, you know what? Pinterest is photo. I'm going to put Pinterest under photo. And making. There's Pixelmator. See, here's where we get into photo stuff. So I'm going to take this, bring it over, put it next to photo. Actually, I might even just put it in. You can't really do that. I wish you could. I'm not using Typorama on this. That's more for and are there any other photo things on here? Spark Post, not good to really use. Okay, so most of these are writing now. And this is kind of the process. Keynote, that's more presenting. Drive, Pages, I'm not using Byword. I like the idea of Hank's Writer, which is a typewriting app, but I'm not using it. Micro.blog, never really fired that up, and I'm not using Scrivener. So there, now I've got a bunch of writing tools in there. Pages, I hate Pages, so I'm not going to use that. Keynote, yes, I will use. And so now that becomes more of a, like I will put writing tools here just because they're not all the same. And now I can do this, writing. Now I can move these into there because they're research oriented. iThoughts is a writing tool of sorts. But ClickUp, interestingly, has its own method of doing mind mapping. So iThoughts will stay in there for now, but it may eventually be replaced because I know there's some mind mapping tools inside of ClickUp that I'm really interested to use. And I think my light went out. Yeah, my light did go out. So you're not getting the best video at this point from me on this screen. So I'm gonna move back over to here. There, that did not take long to fix. All right, moving on. So now we have things are starting to come together. I'm going to look at family. These are all interestingly things. I organize them this way. My Don's asking, Don, you showed up a little late. I got rid of the Evernote icon a little while ago. Same thing with Penultimate. Same thing with Sketch. They also went the way of Evernote Food and Evernote Hello. All right, so I'm going to start taking these things out because it says family and I get it, but these are more like I want to watch things. And Cineplex is our movie theater. I know Don and Joyce, I know you know this. There are Tasty. Again, don't know why that's there. So this family folder is really not terribly helpful. And so at this point, I'm going to start to migrate these to the page that has there we go, that has all of the video stuff on it. Now, Curiosity Stream is interesting because it's a research tool, so I may move that, but we'll see in a second. Apple TV Plus, because when Ted Lasso comes out, I most certainly want to be able to watch that on my iPad if no one else is. Okay. Oh. Now, what's interesting about this is I have this last page here that has all this stuff on it. I'm probably going to, actually, I am going to do this now. I'm going to move the games to the last page. That's very similar to what my iPhone has. My iPhone has the same thing. It is basically the games is on the last screen. I would love to show that to you, but of course, I was having issues with that. And now all of a sudden, I'm going to move ExpressVPN up here. Actually, I'll probably put it right. No, yeah, I'll put it there. Okay, and then we go back to the home screen that has things like Tasty, which I'm not really using, so I'm going to get rid of it. iTunes Store, which I believe is where you can buy movies and stuff, so I'm going to put that next to Apple TV. And then finally, the Cineplex Store, which is another one. So I'm already making this whole area take shape. All of these video things are kind of in that spot now. Which means that probably what I should do is move that up. Disney Plus tends to get more watch time than anything else. Then Netflix. Now, then Prime Video. Actually, let's be honest. YouTube gets the most. And then we will go with Apple TV, then Tubi, and then we've got these ones here. So I'm starting to move these so that all the top row are basically video type apps. Now, what's also interesting is I have a bunch of sports apps in here. I'm going to probably pull this stuff out and put DAZN here because I like watching DAZN. And then I'll take a look, and I mean, most of these I'm not going to deal with. So I'm going to get rid of a lot of these. I can just go to the websites. This is a game. I'll put over here. So when you're looking at this now, you're like, Mike, it seems like there is no rhyme or reason. No, there is. I'm just going through. As you make your way through BR Live, I'm not using MLB. This is a baseball game. And actually what I should have done there is just taken all the sports and moved it over. Now, ExpressVPN is an interesting one because it should probably go right here, so that way I can watch things whenever I want. And there's all the reading apps. Blinkist, Books, Kindle, right? So that's another interesting thing to look at because there's a bunch of stuff in here like Unstuck, which I'm deleting, Medium, which I read. Again, some of these are writing tools. Some of these are tools. I'm not using iCloud Reader. Feedly, these are all reading. Quotebook, I don't think even works anymore. But I think I have stuff in there. Rocketbook, I'm not using at all. I gave my Rocketbook away. All of these are reading tools. So what I can do is I may pull another reading tool out of here. Try to see what other reading tools I have that are related to, and I can go back here. Academia is definitely a reading tool, so is research. What I might do here is actually bring Curiosity Stream down here and put it at the tail end because it's kind of like a researching tool. And I will figure out what the other stuff will be as I make my way through this. Again, I don't really see a lot of, I don't even know what this is. So travel, there's quite a few travel apps on here. FaceTime, Optic TV. See, that's a video app. So I know it's when I'm traveling, I want to take a look at it, but it's not the ideal. And there you go. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to pull these over. Oops. I try to keep the bottom folder. Now here's family safety. Interesting. That's going to stay there for now. Family safety is a app that I need to use for when my son is on the Xbox and we need to give him more screen time. Habits, which I've not really looked at. Gemini, which is, oh, there we go. Photo tool. Twitter, social media. And I don't know what my learn is, but I will look at it in a minute. I'm going to take a look at a couple of these, but I want to get this one page sorted. Okay. So now family safety should actually go with games. And Microsoft Teams needs to not be there. It needs to be probably right here for now. So let's take a look at this screen now. All right. Before we do that, I'm going to come back. If you have any thoughts, questions, hey, Ken, good to see you. This is kind of what the first step looks like. This is what I would say is a complete page for me. If you look at the top, it's all video. Actually, the top two rows are all video stuff. Then what I've done is I've got a VPN, one of the VPN that I use, ExpressVPN. It's listed right there. You could also use NordVPN if you wanted. I think they're both great. Then I have my reading app, which if you take a look, there's a bunch of reading stuff in here. I can move more reading things in there. Blinkist would be one, actually. So let's, I don't really use Blinkist all that much anymore, though. So I'm going to delete it. I'm no longer a subscriber. But here's the great thing is I see all these, like, look at Scribed. That thing is ripe for going over there. So I'm going to put it right here. Okay. And if there is another app in here that I like to, if there's anything, Medium is probably, well, Medium can stay there. I think I've used Blue Fire Reader is another one. And the only reason I'm putting it there, the only reason, I'm going to move Curiosity Stream to research. because it's much like these other research oriented tools in here. That's exactly what it's for. Um, if you take a look at, let's hit done. So now what I've done is I've kept the bottom free. My top 2 rows are video only, and then I've got the Express VPN there. Good to see you, Nadia. Good to see you. And then I've got all reading oriented apps in the bottom row with ExpressVPN. Now, if I take a look at this, and this is where it's going to get interesting. Take a look at the sports edit home screen. I'm going to pull these out because these are all just games. And I use my iPad as a gaming machine every so often. You can see here I've got a bunch of other games in here. I have not played the casino game in a long time. I do not like that Brawls game. Well, I keep some of these on here, honestly, for when my son occasionally uses the app. Some of these are Apple Arcade games only, and I kind of stopped with those. So as soon as I open them, it'll probably ask me to do Apple Arcade. So if that happens, then you'll see me delete them. I'm not going to do that right now, but I'm bringing every game out of there. There's a few here that are not related to that, though. But let's see. So Brawls, it's going to download. Oh, there's Mini Motorways. Yeah, there we go. So I'm getting the old, like, play over. Not now. So I'm going to delete that because I do not use Apple Arcade. Same thing. All right. I have a feeling Skate City's the same. Redo Spell Tower. That's great. Okay. I'm going to download these other games, though, just to make sure. And then I've got NBA Jam here. Look at all these other games, though. Burger Shop, DC All Access, Xbox, Among Us. There's a bunch of games in here. So I'm going to actually pull those all out because this whole page is games. So that's what I would do here is I'm going to move, and I think there's even another page. No, there isn't. But there's a lot of games. And the one thing about folders that I don't like is that they don't automatically necessarily organize based on, so for example, as you pull things out, the second page doesn't move forward. If there was a second page here, it doesn't move forward. Star Wars, Knights of the Old Republic. Quick story about that game as I'm doing this. When I was solving the original Knights of the Old Republic, my daughter, my wife was going into labor with my daughter. And, that's not what we wanted to see happen there. And she said, Mike, I think the baby's coming tonight. You need to you need to go to bed. I'm like, no, I just got to finish this one scene. And I did not go to bed as early as I should have. And my wife went into labor and had my daughter the next day, and I was exhausted. But I could not say a thing about being exhausted because it was my own fault. So I have a soft spot, but also I have a love-hate relationship with Knights of the Old Republic, the Star Wars game. But I have it installed. And I'm not using Apple Arcade. Yes, Ken, it's sus, as you say. All right, so we take a look at these games. I'm not going to, if I go to Brawls, it's going to do the same thing. So yeah, not now. And that's the thing. I don't mind trying out these things. I know Skate City is. And I love Snowman's stuff, but anything that's built by Snowman. Spell Tower is fine. Card of Darkness, I think that's an app that I actually use. Oh, no, it's also an arcade. Well, I actually kind of dug that game a little bit when I played it. Burger Shop, SimCity, Odyssey, all these ones. Now, Marvel and DC All Access, they're not really, they're more reading than anything else. All of these other ones are definitely games, and I'm going to put Among Us up here because we play that a lot. I actually play Spell Tower quite a bit. I do not play KOTOR all that much because of my love-hate relationship with it. Alto's Adventure and Alto's Odyssey will also make their way to the top because I do love those games, like I said. These, however, are reading apps, I would surmise, so they need to go in with reading. So you can see that some of my apps are, and I've deleted a ton of apps today, But you could see like all the reading apps are in one spot now, except for ones I use for research. And these ones are all the other four are all related to the podcast stuff that I do. So that's how I measure that. Now it's time for me to figure out what some of these are. So we're looking at like page 1 is looking pretty okay, except for Comixology, which I now know needs to be moved, and we know exactly where it's going to go. And this is part of what the process. Oh, I'm going to go back there, drop it into reading. And then the family folder goes away. And I'm going to put all of, now I'm seeing some of this stuff come together. So I am going to put this over here. I'm going to move that there for now. And those are all productivity apps. Well. Pretty soon, and here's some listening ones. So we've got GarageBand, voice memos, all these other ones that are here. These are audio tools. So some of them, and you could see there's video tools there, and then there's audio tools here. So I'm going to move that to the, actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that right there. Okay. And I'm also going to put my video tools right there because they are photo I'm not too worried about. And I'm going to move my listening over here. And I'll put my photo stuff over here as well. So now remember I mentioned off the top the idea of categorizing your devices with themes in mind. That's exactly what I'm doing here. So if you take a look, my daily themes for Tuesday, my daily theme for Wednesday rather, no, Tuesday is audio video. Well, there it is. Like I have audio and video in the same spot. I can take these and I can go, okay, well, these are all related to making the podcast. Castro, I don't really use. That's a podcasting app. All these other ones are kind of TuneIn Radio. I don't use. I don't use this. I'm not producing the podcast all that much anymore. So I can actually, the only reason I would use any of this stuff is if I was going to create some kind of audio for my members of Time Crafting Trust or something else like that. So I'm not necessarily going to need these on here. So I think that may go the way. I mean, I may just keep them inside this folder and then rename the folder, but I'm going to bring those over. Okay. So I'm going to take these audio tools ones that are already here and put them over into listening, and then I'm just going to rebrand listening. It's obviously a lot faster to do that. And then again, this is not a pure, as they say, audio. And by the way, the only reason I know that folder is done is because it went away. The travel one, as you may have noticed, didn't. So the travel one, which I believe is probably on the next page. Yeah, see, travel, like the second page doesn't have much of anything. I don't know why I have 2 Hertz apps on here, but they're gone. I'm going to get rid of basically anything that I don't need on here should go away. Now, Airbnb, WestJet, these are all airlines that are kind of, I mean, I've used the WestJet airline, but I'm going to use my phone mainly for these things. Same thing with Airbnb. Most of the stuff that I'm going to use is going to be with the phone. I definitely want Find My stuff on there. FaceTime, Maps. I do like hotels.com, Kayak. GoGo Video Player is for travel. These are for like, if, Stay Connected, GoGo Video Player, or if I'm traveling and I know I'm going to be in the same, place. So I'm going to move Kayak probably up here. I'm going to leave these for now, although I'm not convinced I'm going to be traveling anytime soon. And there's healthcare and fitness. And those are in there. I don't know what some of these are. Well, Wim Hof method is, I'm going to put under healthcare. TELUS e-claims, that's also healthcare. But now let's take a look. Oh, and then we've got social media. So we're going to start to combine those. Photo and video, eh? That's the other thing too. You got to keep your eyes open on what these are. I'll call this social media. Because sometimes they're just going to say, hey, this is what I believe you are. So I'm going to put this up here. And then let's take a look and see what some of these other ones are. So I'm going to hit done. I don't know what this is. Learn by my... Oh, I know. Okay, now I know. So this is going to go under finance. As soon as I saw My Wall Street, I'm like, okay. Maintaining. These are almost all of these are social. So And you can see there are a lot of interesting apps in here. Mocha, I can get rid of. Goodreads, why? So I obviously wasn't thinking in some instances when I did this because I wouldn't have thought to look there. Okay. Guru.club, I don't think exists anymore. And I'm just going to change this to social. I'll rebrand it as social media later. Instagram contacts, I'm going to get that, pull that out. My Tellus, I'm going to pull that out. Oop, it didn't come out. Mighty Networks, I'm not using on this device. I would use it on my phone, if anything. Let's take a look at the next page. Amazon, nope. I don't even know if I want Amazon on this device. But you could see, like, look at all of the different things in different spots. Okay, Sign Now, Safari, Analytics. This folder needs work. I'm going to come back to this a little later. And I'm actually going to put in here. This is another example of what you can do. Needs work. Done. Social media is there. Look at all the email apps. Some of these are not email apps, by the way. So, communication. And then what we do is we take that and put that in there. And we go to another page that has circle on it. That goes under communication. Tailwind is social, right? Because it's to do with Pinterest. And then we start to put together some of these other ones that are listed. So Time Tree's a calendar, Focus at Will, Editor, Crowdcast, Learning. These are all different platforms. So as we make our way through this, I'm noticing like some themed stuff happening. So there's all the games and they're all good. I'm going to get rid of some more of these that don't really work with Apple. They need to be, that's an Apple Arcade game. I knew that for sure. Not really playing SimCity, but I'll leave it on here anyway. But now I've got like the last page, the last two pages are completely organized. This page needs work. What is the pattern? Oh, it's a, yeah. This, again, don't want an app that is on here that is not related, that is not an iPhone app. I bet you Knowable is the same. Yep. So I am not a fan of apps at this point that don't scale up. This scales up. So an Enneagram app is fine. I'm actually going to put that into, oh, this is a researching app because I am doing some research on the Enneagram. So I'm going to put that under, oh, well, what do you know? Learning. So there's a lot of learning apps in here. Skillshare. But in essence, that should be under writing tools. So now that I'm seeing that though, is I'm going to move those into learning because it's LinkedIn Learning. And I'm going to put Crowdcast in there because it's also a learning platform. Practice is my coaching platform. Oh, there's LinkedIn. That goes under wherever social is because I've got social media. Boom. Finance is fine. Healthcare, travel, Habitify, Basecamp. Microsoft Teams is a learning platform. I'm going to move that over there because I teach people in it. So there's a learning platform. Hey is an email communication platform. So I'm going to put that under communication. It's my, so I'll put that into wherever the communication one is. There it is. And then we've got, oh, contacts. That's going to go into, come on. Sometimes you end up chasing them. My favorite thing to do is to, yeah. All right. And then we've got some other ones here like organizer, time sheet. Organizer I'm going to put into needs work. So then what you can start to do is say, hey, you know what? I don't want I'm going to put everything that I don't know where it goes into needs work. Time Tree is a calendar app. I'm going to put it up here next to the other. I am now going to start to think about the apps that I don't want on both apps. Things I don't use. Well, I'm going to put it under productivity anyway. I'm going to move Basecamp under productivity because I am actually in a group that uses Basecamp. Focus at Will will go under productivity. Actually, I'm going to put that under writing tools along with Brain.fm. Even though I really only use Brain.fm on my machine, on my iPhone, I'm going to do that because that's what these are for. We've got DDP Yoga Now, which is a fitness app. I'm not going to get rid of that one here. In fact, what I'm going to do is I am going to probably keep some of this stuff front and center. So time tree, front, all those ones are going to stay there. I'm going to break these out. So audio and video are going to be broken out along with photo. I've got some other ones here which I actually do need to move. So Habitify will go under productivity when I eventually move it over there. Same thing with Arena and Time Chi. So, and this is where it kind of gets muddy because you have to kind of move back and forth your arm. My left arm is starting to ache because I'm using it exclusively. I'm a lefty. Okay, and there's another productivity app. Habitify will, again, I hate that. I'm going to move the Files app down there, and then I can go Habitify. Boom. And then when we get to, like, My Tellus has a lot to do with, you know, kind of, it's going to go into the needs work one because I don't know. And then Amazon, I don't really think I need Amazon on here anymore, so I'm going to delete it. And then the contacts form, of course, will have to try to go up there, but it's not going to like me. I'm chasing that thing down forever. But now you could see, like, there is a lot more organization in here. A lot more. And I can add more things down to the dock. Like if I want YNAB, because it's something I want to update regularly to the dock, I'm going to put it there, right? Todoist, I also update quite frequently. DDP Yoga, not so much, right? Optimization, you know, paper. I'm seeing all these other tools on here, so some of these are going to need some help. Files could actually go under optimization because I do think that that's actually something worth checking out. But again, like I'm not really using food noms on my device here, so there's no real point. Learning, lots of stuff here. There's TED video, there's Zoom calls, Skillshare, all these things. Not really using Notability, so I'm going to delete it. Time page, not really using. Actions, not really using. We go to the next page. Microsoft Teams can move over. So you notice how it didn't move unless you move it, it's not going to move. And then, you know, iTunes U, that's learning. OneNote, I don't use it. Alexa, we have it on our devices, so I don't really need to worry about that. Google Meet, sometimes I need it, unfortunately. Udemy, I do use. Enneagram app, I'm actually going to maybe move that at some point. Zoom, Whereby, all these are fantastic. And then, like I said, I'm going to break down this screen a bit more. I'm definitely going to have to spend some more time in here on this other page, especially the what says need work. But look, like this is all clean, as is the games page, which is the last page that I want to have on here. And what's great is if I decide, you know what, I really don't want to, this is when cards fall. If I don't want to use Burger Shop anymore, which I really don't, I can just delete it and it goes away. Right? And there's a couple Madden footballs on here. I don't really want this. I only want the newest one. It's going to go away, right? I think that was the most recent one. So I can see everything, right? So things that I don't want or don't need anymore, like these are my primary reading apps. I can go inside here and say, oh, are these reading apps even worth keeping? Some yes, some no, right? Like Spark, I don't even think, yeah, see, there you go. Spark doesn't even work. Bye. Codex is a Baron Fig app. Again, too small, or it doesn't work on the iPad very well. Goodbye, right? Quote book, I don't even know if see, it needs to be updated. Goodbye. Right? So I could see those a lot clearer, and that's what this does, is it allows you to kind of, taking part in this exercise actually puts you in a position to get a greater sense of what you want your devices to look like. I know I feel better already having gone through this process, and I know that it's probably a bit, I wouldn't say, well, it is a bit mundane, but what I encourage you to do is if you ever need to come back and do it, just watch me do some of this for a little bit. You don't have to watch me do the whole thing, but whether you're doing it for your iPhone or your iPad or an Android tablet or whatever, decluttering your apps makes a lot of sense. So as we get close to wrapping up here, because I don't want to go too far beyond our time, the biggest things are, number one, try to use a combination of pages and folders together. Again, whether you're using Android devices or iOS devices, because then again, there's a lot more visibility around the apps that you're using. What's also really smart to do is if you are using, if you leave some empty spaces on your pages, when someone else downloads an app, so say you're using family sharing and someone else downloads an app, you're going to notice it that much faster. Earlier in the stream, you may have seen that there was a Lego Mario thing that popped up. I knew that that was Colton's. I deleted it. Right. The other great thing is that when you have folders and pages together, you can kind of clump things in folders that are not being used all that often. You can hide things. And this goes back to the days where you couldn't delete certain apps, like Apple Notes couldn't be deleted, Stocks couldn't be deleted. So you had to put them in a folder going, do not use or don't use. In this case, you don't have to do that necessarily, but there's going to be certain apps you might want to keep to leverage the power of, Siri and automations. So maybe that's where you could use some folders. The other thing is get creative with the naming of your folders. If you follow the time crafting philosophy, you may want to have like, these are researching apps. These are apps that I use for writing. These are apps that I use for, tracking, what have you. But also, like you saw, you can have one that's called Needs Work or Potpourri if you're a Jeopardy fan or something like that. And then you can go through it. And if you don't know what you want to do with the app, you can drag it in there. You can also have folders for apps that you know you're not going to use all that frequently, like infrequent use. And that means that, hey, I don't want to delete them. And this comes from a lesson, from Josh Becker's book, The More of Less, the idea of having staging areas, right? Like, I'm not going to delete this yet, but I'm going to put it in this folder. And that way I see it when I need to see it. And if I don't use it often enough, I'll get rid of it. So that's another thing to consider. And then one of the biggest things you can do is make sure you customize your doc so that it fits you. And again, if you notice, my doc now has, Obsidian on here, which I'm using a lot more, Drafts, Google Docs, ClickUp, Todoist, Reflection, and YNAB. These are all apps I use every single day, and I want to make sure that they are very visible to me. And also yet are not the ones that could distract me, like Front or, even a calendar app. DDPY Yoga might end up going there too, because it's now I have DDPY Yoga on my phone as well. I'll probably delete. Well, actually, I probably won't delete it from my phone because it's good for recipes, but you never know. I might just delete it from my phone. And then that's the other thing too, is some apps are going to be great on your phone, but not on your larger screen devices and vice versa. The easy way to get rid of the ones that are not good on your iPad, if you're using it, is if you have those ones that need to be up-resed to make sure that they work. Those ones I just deleted because, my phone is actually more powerful than my iPad in a lot of ways at this point. So there you have it. Hope this was helpful. I hope you got to see some of my process. Let's take a look. Ken says, yes, and that's another good point. Ken says, I've deleted a lot of apps and just use the website instead. Unless the app has a unique purpose on mobile, no need to install it. That happened with all those sports apps, right? Like, I don't need to see what's going on in Major League Baseball or with the Toronto Blue Jays or with anything like that. I can just go to the website. Same thing with, the TSN. We have the Sports Network here in Canada. Same thing with that. So yeah, the web, mobile browsing has gotten so much better because most people are using mobile devices to browse. So yes, same deal. And that's one of the, I don't know how many apps I deleted during this session here. There's quite a few though. And there's some that, as I look at them right now, there are some that, I probably could still delete, like the Enneagram app or something like that. But there are a lot of ones that, when you assess it, you get a better sense of what you can and shouldn't keep. That's it. I'm going to wrap it up here. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. If you have any comments or anything, I'd love to hear you put them in the comments below, how you go about the process, if you've gotten any ideas or insights from this. If you stuck around for the whole thing, let me know. I'd love to hear from you on that front as well. And don't forget, the next video that I'm going to put up is the Goodbye Evernote video. That's my next project that you'll see here on the channel. Until next time, remember to stop doing productive and start being productive. All right, we'll see you later.